Okay, today is November the 7th. I just got back from the lake. Jim and I fished today, fished Lake Oconee as usual, and we combo trolled. We kept 16 good fish. We started fishing about 6:15 this morning and we finished about 10:45. The bite stopped about 10 o'clock. After that we didn't do any good at all. But I wanted to start the video today with a demonstration of how we rig. I know we talk about it in some of the other videos, but we don't really show you too much about it. But when we talk about combo trolling, Jim is tight lining out of the front of the boat and I'm long lining out of the back. So in order for me to long line, we have to travel between say 0.8 and 1.2 miles an hour, and typically around a mile an hour. For him to be able to do that tight lining, he has to add more weight. Now, I've got a mold and I pour these sinkers that are 3/4 of an ounce, and they got a swivel on either end. And on the top, Jim will attach 8 or a 10-pound test. And on the bottom, he'll put a 6-pound leader that's about 20 inches long. Well, here's how we do that. Cut about 20 inches or so off your leader material, or in this case it's Crappie Max, and I put a loop in one end of it. I'll put like a loop knot. I'll make a couple passes through the loop. So I've got a couple passes through that loop, and then I cinch it down tight. Now we also tie on the other end. We'll tie our jig and we'll tie a loop knot for it also. I just run it through the eye of the hook, pull out some slack, pull out the tag end, run it around my fingers like so, and then go through the loop 1, 2, usually twice, sometimes 3 times. Now, if I want the top jig, the jig on the top, if I'm long lining, I pull out about 3 or 4 inches on it, and then on the bottom jig, if I'm running doubles, I'll pull out about 1/2 to 1 inch. So now when Jim gets ready, if he breaks off this leader, what we do is we'll take a piece of foam, and you can buy this at the hardware. It's a wrap water pipe or air conditioning pipe or whatever. And we'll cut off about 12 inches or so and cut a slit around it. And then just tie up some leaders in advance and just wrap them around there. And then put the hook in there, and you can take a foot of this stuff here and probably put 8 or 10 leaders on it. Now when he gets ready to change this out, if he breaks off and he needs to put a new leader on, all he's got to do is go through the bottom of he's got his line attached to the top, the 8 or the 10-pound test, and then take this leader, push that loop through the bottom. You've already got it pre-tied, so all you got to do then is run your jig through that loop. And that's what you've got. So you've got a loop knot on your jigs, and we both fish with loop knots on all our jigs. Now for the long line setup, very similar, except we don't use a sinker. We use weighted jig heads. And the way I set mine up is I'll put my first jig on a double rig on top, run it through there, and pull out about 3 feet, 2.5 to 3 feet. I used to go this much, but I found out I caught more fish fishing doubles if I keep the 2 jigs 2.5, 3 feet apart. I've caught more 2 fish at one time doing it that way than I ever did before. So anyway, I'll pull it out, and I'm going to tie the top jig on first. I'll just run it through the eye of the hook. Again, do the loop knot, but I'll run it through the loop about 2 or 3 times, pull it out to about 3 or 4 inches. So that's my top jig right there. We'll do the same thing. This was a 3/32, by the way, and we'll do the same thing on the bottom with a 1/32. So I'm going to run it through there, pull the tag end out, and then go through the loop a couple of times. This one I'm going to shorten up. I'm going to make it about a 1/2 to 1 inch loop right there. So that's the way we tie all of our jigs on. So I hope that answers any questions you might have about why we rig like we do and why we call it combo trolling. We're tight lining and pulling, long lining at the same time. Now let's get some fish. I think so.
About 11. Might be 11 1/4.
11.5. This is a double here. Top one may keep. Another 11.5. He's 11. I don't know, this bottom one may keep. He is 11. He thought he was a bass. That's a 12 there, maybe. I tell you, I think I've caught everything on that blue ice, on the back jig.
16. He was on
Yeah.
Fish is a little deep. I'm scared to get on down there too deep. What'll happen? No, what'll happen?
He's about 10 3/4. That's good fish there. I thought it was a double. I knew there was a reason it was pulling awful hard. I think we can keep them both. That's a good fish here. He's 13 inches. Yeah, 10.5. Yeah, and he's a good one. Here we go. He's about 12 3/4. He might go in that box, I'm not sure. Oh yeah. About 10.5. Yeah, but he has got me all messed up.
Oh, he's a crappie.
Oh yeah, he's crappy.
Putting a net to him.
I think I can get him. I don't. We'll see here. Got him. Yeah, somebody was fishing with them fire and ice. This is a 12.
Yeah. Be the biggest one.
He's about 12. Almost 12.5. Watch me up there, Jim. I got a fish on. Everything I got back here is wound up. I got it. He's hooked good. $13. 11 and a half.